The content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, Miss Rianne.
Hi. You know when you said quiet on the set, it really it really made me want to talk.
And say loud, obnoxious things?
Yeah.
Oh, I assumed that much.
Did you? Is that why you goaded me for that? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yep.
I freaking knew it.
So I didn't have, gosh darn it. Didn't have my OneDrive open, so I'm opening it right now. But this Kyle Rittenhouse stuff is kind of crazy. Did you know that there was another person who was just recently acquitted about the same time he was for self-defense?
Who?
It was a black man. Great.
Wait,
now I'm going to have to Google it.
Was he acquitted?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. What really upsets me about this whole thing is the media, like mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, all these media outlets painted him as
Andrew
like...
Coffey is his name
Okay.
in Florida.
Yeah, okay. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it was just interesting that there was several individuals who were just recently acquitted for self-defense.
Right. Okay. So I know, but what makes me so mad is they're making this a huge race issue, which is ridiculous because
the evidence points to otherwise.
I think the majority of people out there who are so against Kyle Rittenhouse thinks he killed blacks, like black people, but he didn't. And they're calling him like a white supremacist and all that stuff. But
even the president came out and said,
well, and I know, see that, like, I'm sorry, but that is just not okay. What? No,
you're way too close.
I like it.
I know you like it, but
No.
you're just like so overpowering me.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So like why is the president commenting on that? Like it just I'm like, it bothers me so bad that the majority of the population don't even know the entire facts of the case because of the way the media has portrayed it.
As far as we know, I mean, we don't know what everybody's thinking or what they've or have not heard or seen.
Okay, well,
but there are some but
I've had people
left-leaning radicalists that are trying to politicize this whole thing.
Well,
and what's interesting is they changed their tone from it being like white supremacy and like all, Black Lives Matter stuff, and now they're saying, oh well, this is, now that he has been acquitted, this is now
white privilege.
This is patriarchy at its best and white privilege. And I'm just like, well,
I know, and that's what bothers me so bad is they're just spinning a narrative, like without any facts or anything, and it's so frustrating. Because if you followed the trial, if you saw the evidence, you saw that, one, he did not kill any black people. Two, he did not kill people on purpose. They were coming at him. It was sheerly defensive.
Yeah, they don't talk about how he was punched, he was kicked,
hit in the head with
a skateboard. Somebody was trying to basically stomp on his head while he was thrown to the ground. The guy that was shot, Rosenbaum, he tried to take away his rifle. So I'll be honest, I think he had quite a bit of restraint before actually committing to self-defense with his AR.
Well, yeah. So, and the other thing that bothers me with the narrative is that the media is saying he didn't even leave. He came across state lines to just kill people, kill black people or whatever, when in all actuality, he lives part-time in that community because his father lives there and his mother lives 20 minutes away across the state line.
Right. And his father has a business there. That's why he chose to go and help people and to help protect the businesses out there.
To protect his dad's business.
Because the quote unquote
protest,
peaceful protest turned into a riot when dark came.
So bug. But the thing that is really and the police weren't doing anything.
Nope.
They weren't protecting any private property or any.
At least that's what the video shows.
Well, and that's why he felt he needed to be there. Anyway, if you were to actually follow the trial and look at the evidence, it's a clear case of self-defense. But then people are saying, well, he shouldn't have been there. How dare, it's true white privilege when a white 17-year-old boy can take an automatic rifle across state lines.
Which is legal in that state.
Right, but they're trying to exacerbate issues that are I don't know. They're just trying to spin it to make people angry and to think that bad is good and good is bad. And
it's because the radical left wants to take the guns. They don't want people to be able to have self-defense because they want people on the government proverbial teat. And they want us to go, hey, government, please help us. Please save us. Please take care of us. But there's reasonable people that are just like, we don't want that.
I will be honest with you. I am getting so tired of how the media is spinning things. It drives me nuts. That's why I don't even listen to mainstream media anymore.
Yeah.
I literally am looking up independent people on YouTube and stuff because, one, they're not being fed a narrative by some corporate overlord, right?
Right.
And their job isn't dependent on them appeasing these corporate interests.
Right.
Can we talk about how much Pfizer is funding the mainstream media? I mean, they're honestly, go look it up and see how much revenue and sponsorship comes from Pfizer to mainstream media. And it's ridiculous. So, I mean, I'm watching.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, these tech giants have billions upon billions of dollars they can utilize to whatever they want to do. If they want to get a certain candidate in, they literally can.
I will.
And there's not a lot of checks and balances with that, which is not good.
The machine of politics is out of control. 100% out of control. And, Trump, love him or hate him. Seriously, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, but he said, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way.
Yep.
And he was saying that of all politicians. And it's true.
Right.
I mean, anyway, let's see. What other job can you have where you can give yourself a raise every year, write it into law that you get paid for life, and it's just the American politics are public. It's just, I'm so libertarian. I'm get government out of the way. I'm sick of it. Anyway, but they feed these narratives. Going back to Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm talking way too much. Going back to Kyle Rittenhouse, it's an opportunity for them to feed the beast of divisiveness. Because if we're divided, we're so much more easily controlled.
I agree.
And so literally that's all that's happening. And the DA's office it's a political, it's not supposed to be, but it's a political thing. You have to play the political game to get into these positions. And so it drives me nuts. Like some of the comments of, oh, the judge is racist because he had a patriotic song as a ringtone.
Or his side comment about the food arriving overseas and being cold by the time it arrived.
Right, because they ordered Chinese food, but watch, I'm probably going to get called a racist. I don't know. Anyway, but what bugs me is if you look at the facts of the
trial.
Thank you. Don't know why that escaped my head. But like the judge allowed the defense to introduce like a lot of different things that are out of the norm.
You mean the prosecution?
Or the prosecution, yes.
Prosecutor, yeah.
Did I say the DA's office? I don't know.
No, you said the defense.
Well, I know, but earlier.
The defense was protecting Rittenhouse. The prosecution was trying to get him indicted and incarcerated.
Okay, anyway. I'm talking out of my butt, apparently. But he like allowed evidence and everything, so much so that the defense could have filed for a mistrial with prejudice.
Well, they withheld evidence. I know that for sure.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing.
About
so,
who,
like the judge was
like they didn't identify the individuals that passed away, that were shot, which was interesting.
Right. They wouldn't allow any. Yeah.
But I kind of understand why. I mean, they don't want to be biased because of somebody's background. They want to focus on the events that transpired.
But if it pleads to the fact that because of past behavior, it would have made it obvious that this person had a violent tendency and was aggressive, and that's why they didn't want that in the trial.
That's a good point.
That's why they wanted that strike, and the judge allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was actually quite lenient towards the prosecution, but he also called them on their shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, he called them out.
Oh
in
my
the middle
gosh. I'm sorry, but like, I'm not a lawyer, obviously. But like, even I watching some of the clips and stuff and how the prosecution was saying, I plan to impeach him or to perjure him or something on the bench. Like, he flat out said that was his strategy with his line of questioning, which was completely inappropriate because it was accusing him of, it was criminalizing him for utilizing his First or Fifth Amendment right or whatever to remain silent. You know, so
he was trying to get him to answer questions that didn't really seem like they.
Well, he was saying, so this is the first time you're telling your side of the story because you chose to remain silent when you turned yourself in. Is that correct? And he said yes, and stuff. And so he was trying to draw the conclusion that the only reason why Kyle was giving a testimony now is because he had the opportunity to hear everything that was laid out against him, which is that's
such bullshit. Like,
it is, and that is literally against the Constitution. Like, he exercised his constitutional right, and the prosecution was trying to say, well, this makes you guilty because you chose not to do. And like the judge was like,
oh, there's
this
a lot
is
of
ridiculous.
There's a lot of ridiculous stuff that the prosecution said. So he was, I mean, it was clear he was very, very left leaning as far as like his ideologies are, because he was pushing it throughout the whole trial. It seemed like to me. I could be wrong.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the problem. I think that's why everybody was watching this trial so closely, is because in the judicial branch, anything in the justice system is meant to be objective because it's supposed to be blind. Justice is blind. That's why the statue of the...
It's supposed to be anyway.
It's supposed to be, right? But like what they were doing is they were putting him on an ideological trial. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of a trial for like, it was just... Ugh. I'm just so sick of how this cancel culture, woke culture, finding a offense to anything.
CRT.
Well, yeah, it's making it so we're more divided.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
what's that quote from Abraham Lincoln? A nation divided is a nation united is a nation. Something like that?
I'm gonna look it up.
You're gonna look it up? Okay,
I'll look it up.
I appreciate that. So it was really interesting. I actually have. I'll make sure that all of the links to these particular articles are in the description below if you wanna check those out where we got the information from. But I did notice that there was a couple of discrepancies within the articles that I was reading, which I thought was really interesting.
Really?
One, yeah,
that's like standard practice now.
Yeah, because
I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to kind of get a good mix of stuff. Like I want to see left side, I want to see right side. I want to kind of. So I got one from like NBC Chicago, one from CNN, Heavy.com. Did I get one from Fox? No, The Guardian is where I got one from. So I mean, I'm trying to kind of get a variety, so it's not just one-sided. And I omitted the ones that I found that were very polarizing, one side or the other.
Okay.
I tried to find as much as I could more in the middle ground.
I found the quote.
Oh, good. I would love to hear it.
He said, "A nation divided cannot stand."
That's it. A nation divided cannot stand. And that's kind of where we're at right now. In the year we're almost going into 2022, and it's like we've become even more divided.
So, see, this is there's an entire
Which is
speech.
not okay.
He gave a speech called "The House Divided," in 1858.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, we cannot stand divided, but also divided we're more easily controlled.
Yeah.
And
I think that the reason that mainstream media has turned to clickbaity headlines and clickbaity like articles
because of the freaking algorithms.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, but also because for some reason they have so many people within those ranks that for some reason have chosen not to do objective truth finding journalism. Like it's all about
because it is now propaganda. It is not about journalism. It has become propaganda.
Well, granted, we've had propaganda like ever since we've had like this country. Like propaganda has been utilized in the wars. Like we've had propaganda since the beginning. It's just we now live in such a technological world that it's very easy for propaganda to not only get out there and very quickly, but it's also very easy to be misleading if people don't investigate and do their own search finding and do their own research.
But literally, who has time to sit down and research the masses of information? Okay, this is the issue. Who has time to sit down and research all that information? It takes time, and it literally could be a full-time job.
I agree. There's a lot of information out there.
In fact, it is a full-time job for some of these independent journalism and news
group organizations.
Yeah. And so like it's literally their full-time job to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but I have a full-time job. I can't spend hours digging every single thing. You know what I mean? Most working people can't, and that's what they're counting on.
I don't think it's that we can't. I think it's we're easily distracted and we're very easily entertained with things. And
who's going to prioritize doing like research and reading?
My goal with these outlines that we've been doing recently is to spend at least an hour and a half to 2 hours on each outline. So I have some time to actually read the articles and do a little bit of fact finding. But again, it's not like something I can sit down and reasonably do for 6 hours a day. So I understand what you're saying. But even with some very simple researching, like I think people can spend a little bit more time like looking and digging into things. like reading a similar article from CNN over on like Fox News or something like that. And then actually, if they have something that's scientific, then, I would encourage people to actually like try to read some studies and stuff like that, if they can.
Well, yeah.
But that's what I'm working on doing right now, is to actually spend a little time, a couple of times a week, and actually look up and research some stuff so that I'm more informed.
Well, and that's what I like, is when people on YouTube will actually supply the links for where they're getting their information. You know what I mean? That is helpful. Because they'll actually put links to the articles that they researched and read to say this is where it's coming from.
Which is what we're doing right now. And also, if we have something that's very pertinent and it needs to be like factual, we're going to start including that stuff in our links in our videos. Because I think that's important.
Absolutely.
So what's really interesting, like I was saying before, was that with some of these articles, like I tried to pick out ones that weren't too polarizing, but it's kind of hard.
Good luck.
So Kyle was 17 at the time of the shootings, which was August of last year, right?
So
not this year. So it's just barely over a year. And when they examined his rifle, they found that he was within legal terms as far as like his age and the length and stuff of the barrel and stock and all that stuff was 100% legal, which was good. Apparently he was a youth cadet in the Grace Lake Police Department. Now I did look up some of these photos myself just to kind of see, and there is some with him in this cadet uniform and him like holding his AR rifle with Blue Lives Matter on it.
But why is that a crime?
That's not a crime. I'm just saying this is what was in the article. But then I read another article later on that's from Fox that said that he was actually an avid supporter of Black Lives Matter. Now, I don't think that the two are mutually, divided. I think we can all agree.
Mutually exclusive?
Yeah, mutually exclusive. That's what I meant to say. Because I think you can still support our police force and still support, Black lives. I think those are things that can be an and not an or. You can
literally support all lives. Like, you don't have to pick one or the other.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we talk about it, I always say that all life matters, because I think that life encompasses everything on this world.
You can get in trouble because people were like, that's so insensitive to say that. And I'm like, why is it insensitive for me to say something that I honestly and truly believe?
Well, I think it's because individuals, when they hear, well, all lives matter, the individuals that are very much believe in the Black Lives Matter movement think that if you say all lives matter instead of Black Lives Matter, they feel like Black lives are being omitted because it's not in the title, kind of a thing. I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of what I've not experienced, but what I've read.
I know, but to me, that's it's just another way to keep us divided. It's another way.
Well, I agree, and I don't think it's, and we've actually, have worked with people on the East Coast in more predominantly Black neighborhoods,
and in the South,
and in the South, and I just think it's really interesting, especially when people have lived the majority of their lives. And I mean, that's how we grow up. We grew up in predominantly white neighborhoods in the suburbs and in schools and stuff like that. But it was really eye-opening to me.
My school was not predominantly white.
Well, mine was.
Mine wasn't.
Mine was predominantly white. I think.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. Well, it was white, Hispanic, and then some Black.
Native American and some Black.
Yeah, some Native Americans, but it was predominantly white and Latino. And so I didn't really get to experience, especially with the culture in the South is very different. And actually, I found the culture in the South and out East more inviting and actually more gracious and helpful. It was actually really interesting to see the difference between out West and out East. Like out West, it's like everybody will ignore you unless they feel like they see something that they need to be like, okay, I need to get this about be my business. And I feel individuals out East and in the South are more like, hey, is everything okay? Are you all right? Like, you need any help with anything?
I wouldn't say the East. I think the East is similar. Like
that wasn't my well, I mean, in areas that
the
were
South, there was a lot of hospitality.
Yeah,
Texas,
for sure. I think I got fed more
Georgia, Florida, like
from strangers than I ever had in my entire life.
I know. I love how friendly the South is.
I almost wanted to move out there. Like when we went to Warner Robins, Georgia,
okay.
I totally wanted to move there.
The only reason why you wanted to move there is because gas prices were so low.
And housing.
Well, yeah, you know why housing was so low? Because it's a
5-bedroom, 3-bath, starting at the low 90,000s. What?
Jacob, the reason why property values were so low there is because Warner Robins was like rampant with drug issues and crime. That's why.
Well, it also has a university there and a military base. I don't know. I liked it there. I really enjoyed that place. Mm. Unlike Cleveland, Ohio, where I thought we were going to get shot.
Oh, I was not a fan of.
But the people there were really nice, though.
Well,
Louisiana people were really
Chicago,
nice. Georgia people were super nice.
Do you remember Maryville?
Maryville?
Indiana? Our first winter, remember? We had Francine with no shell, so you had to take the CRV and I had to...
Yeah, I do remember that.
And it was winter.
No, it wasn't Midvale. We were right out...
Maryville. Indiana.
Oh, because we were right outside of...
We were just across the state line of Chicago.
Oh, that's right, because we were working in the suburbs. You're right, I remember that.
Oh, gosh. And
Midvale. I thought it was Midvale. Was it Midvale?
Midvale is in Utah.
Oh, that's right.
It's Maryville.
You're right.
I know. Why don't you know this already?
I'm just saying though. Not only some of the most humble people I've met that were like the predominantly black communities we lived in for those times we were working out there, but freaking hilarious. I don't think I've laughed so hard in my life talking to some of these people while I'm trying to install security systems. And just very open about, what they want for their communities. It was really eye-opening. And what's really interesting is it's nothing like we're seeing in the media.
Well, what drives me
nothing.
Insane, I know, and that's what bugs me is because you have it's like, well, if you belong to, if you're black, then it's automatically assumed that you're a Democrat. If you're gay, lesbian,
which is untrue.
Right? If you're part of the LGBTQ community, you're automatically a Democrat.
Which is untrue.
If you're a redneck white person, you're automatically a Republican.
Which is not true.
If you're a business owner, you're automatically Republican.
Which is not true.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I know people in so many different facets of life that, identify, and the thing is most people I don't think want to identify with a specific party anymore because it's just...
Yeah, we're kind of, like you and me, we're kind of partyless. I mean, we kind of lean one way or the other depending on the issue, but we're literally we're kind of in this nebulous independent side right now, which is we're going to vote and choose how we feel and how you are on the issues, not necessarily, we're a part of your team.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I'm more libertarian than anything. I want government to get the flip out. Government's gotten way too big. Way too big.
I agree.
And they're also extremely inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
Except for when it comes to paying themselves. And this is coming from somebody who used to work
mm-hmm.
in government. And you know what? Okay, can I just say one of my favorite characters on TV is freaking Ron Swanson. Because he is like, I'm off the grid. He's like burying gold in some random thing, like some random spot in the woods next to his cabin. And like, I'm like, he is my spirit animal some days, you know, like some days I'm just like, Ron Swanson, you got this shit figured out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that show. We got to rewatch that.
Well, we're doing.
I love Parks and Rec.
Well, I'm actually really excited to do our review of season 2, and then we start doing the seasons of Sons of Anarchy. That's going to be really fun to do. Yeah, we got a lot of great content coming for you guys, and we got some more reviews sprinkled in. Like, we're going to start actually doing reviews by the season, which is going to be awesome. So we'll have more episodes like seasonally on whatever season we're all watching. Not together like at the same time, but around the same time, so that way when we finish we can actually get together and have a good discussion on them and good reviews. And then with these outlines, I think they're super helpful, and they kind of keep us on track as far as like keeping on the topics and stuff like that. So
one day we'll get so good like Joe Rogan that we won't even need outlines.
Joe Rogan doesn't. Yeah, he just kind of talks.
He just sits and talks with people.
Of course,
and we're gonna be like so good like that.
Of course, he has like I don't know, 3 to 6 episodes of talking about the same thing, and then they kind of moves on after that. After a while.
Oh, but you know what I do love
about Joe Rogan?
No. Well, yes. So there was a podcast. So, what's his name? Hold on.
You're talking about Tim Pool? Is
it Tim Pool? Or Tim Cass? Yeah, this is the one I sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the coolest podcast to listen to because it had
so many big names in it.
So it had Tim Pool,
right,
who is an independent
journalist basically
guy, right? That goes out and he was a hardcore lefty, all this stuff, and he's not anymore.
Yeah.
He's more midstream and even maybe a little more conservative.
Yeah.
He bought his first gun, covering the riots and shit. He was total Democrat, and then he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm buying a gun." So he's left leaning, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Alex Jones was on there, who was crazy, cuckoo. Love him.
Yeah, but he's on than he is off.
Serious. Okay, he is, but he's just crazy a little bit.
Yeah, he gets down some weird roads though.
Right, he goes
interdimensional child molesters is one of the ones I'm just like, really?
Well, okay, that shit does happen. Anyway,
interdimensional child molesters.
I don't know. I didn't hear that word, but he does talk about secret societies and child sex rings and blah blah blah. It happens, but
Blair White was on there.
So Blair White, right? Mm-hmm. So she's
a trans woman,
right? So she's a trans, but she's LGBTQ community, and she is a hardcore Republican, hardcore right leaning, right? She's been in videos with Chris McDonald,
yeah,
and stuff. Is it Chris McDonald? Tim
McDonald.
Tim McDonald.
He's a rapper.
He's a hip hop artist.
He's a very politicized rapper.
He's not politicized. He comments on society, but because he's pointing out,
he talks about Trump and Biden. So I would say he's a political rapper.
Well, there's lots of rappers that talk about Trump and Biden. Most rappers before Trump became president were rapping about how they wanted to be him. So anyway, so then it had Blair White, and then it had Michael Malice, who is a hardcore anarchist, which I love listening to him. And he's a troll master, and he actually really likes Trump because he says Trump is the ultimate troll, which I kind of think I agree with. But then
he got himself into some trouble with some of the stuff he posts.
But then, and then Joe Rogan. Okay, so there were those 5, and then there was one other independent journalist who actually testified in the Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Who actually testified in the Rittenhouse?
Yeah, he was there, like videotaping stuff. Like
trial.
part of the stuff that he videotaped it and ended up in
it was
evidence. Yeah.
And so he testified in that trial, and he was also on that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't listened to the whole thing because it's like over 2 hours long, but they all. Can you imagine like all of these personalities that literally do daily talk shows, all in this, like they were on an RV trailer kind of thing.
Just baller, by the way. I would love to totally do
I know.
that.
I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh.
Go on like podcast tours.
Oh my gosh. Well,
go to Texas and interview.
Tom Green was doing that too. Tom Green did that.
That's kind of cool.
He bought a Mercedes travel van and was driving around doing podcasts and stuff. But like at some point, this podcast gets a little out of control because all of them start just talking over each other, and they're like,
"Oh yeah."
Ah!
Sorry, well, Tim had to ask Alex Jones several times to stop talking over him because he kept doing it.
Right.
And you can tell he's not his favorite person, but it was a very I saw part of it as well.
How much did you watch of it?
I think about a third of it, almost half. So one of the individuals that were killed during this whole self-defense thing that happened. Oh, I didn't even realize this, but the protest that turned into a riot, it was because of a shooting that happened a couple of weeks prior. Let's see, it was Blake White, or I think his name is Blake. He was shot by a police officer who was also acquitted. I personally haven't seen the videos on it or the cams and stuff, so I'm not going to comment on it because I don't know.
But that's what
led to the riot.
Okay.
To the riots, yeah.
Okay, Democrat that I love, Tulsi Gabbard.
Was she a governor of Hawaii?
No, she was a congresswoman from Hawaii.
For Hawaii, excuse me.
But she's legit. I like her.
I do too, because I think she is one of the more reasonable Democrats.
Well, and I even listened to Russell Brand, who is extremely left-leaning.
Yeah.
So I do get I do play both sides, just not
play both sides, but you listen to each side to kind of come up with your own decisions, your own outlook on issues and politics and people.
And it's not necessarily news, but I'm trying to get perspectives and get feedback to kind of get a balance of what's going on. And I'm not getting it from, well, I do have some shows I like to watch on a certain network, but it's not
the news
like I
and
take
why
it.
It matters.
Well, yeah, Blaze is definitely a right leaning for sure. But
I think some of them are more moderates, like what's his name? The beard, short hair. He's Republican, he's gay, but he's very moderate. What's his name?
Huh?
Yeah, what's his name? I don't think he's on. Is he on the Blaze? He has a big show on YouTube.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, Rubin.
Yeah, Rubin Report.
Yeah, Rubin Report. I love Dave Rubin.
Yeah.
He was, again, a hardcore Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Hardcore Democrat.
Yeah.
But has now, is calling him out. He's like, seriously.
So, where are you at with Antifa and Black Lives Matter? With all the things that have happened especially over the past couple of years, they've been much more active. And what was really interesting in this particular situation where people from Black Lives Matter were saying that if Rittenhouse gets acquitted, then they're going to...
Oh, the jury... the intimidation on that, man.
I was like, what?
Literally, the jury had a hard job, and I think that's why it took them so long to deliberate, honestly.
Didn't somebody try to do some doxing on the jurors as well?
Oh yeah, like the judge
Oh, my God.
banned MSNBC reporters from coming into the courtroom because they were following the jury outside.
Oh, and they were filming them, and
Yeah.
they had to take away their phone and delete the videos and pictures and stuff. I do remember that. Can you believe that people are doing that?
What I'm saying, like, this shit is bad.
Like, man, our forefathers, I'm sure, are like rolling in their graves right now going, what is going on in this 2021?
Well, that's
2020,
why they wrote
2021.
the Constitution the way they did, is so that. But it's so corrupt. They corrupt shit so much. Anyway.
Well, I'm still under the belief that the Constitution was written for a reason, and yes, it was written over 200 years ago, but it still applies to us today. It's not something that you can reasonably change.
Yeah.
Because it still makes sense and it's still applicable for today.
Well, and here's the other thing. This state that we're going through right now is not anything super unique. Like, it's happened throughout history. Right? Like, you look at the Roman Empire and all that stuff, and like how they went to a democracy, and like it ended up falling, so I mean, and then it went to a monarchy and everything. So like, and if you think about it, America is super, super young in that regard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so it's like, it's almost like a natural flow to society, or to cultures and societies. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
maybe I'm just getting on this kick because I'm also taking a humanities class right now, so I'm kind of drawing parallels between our world today and some of these ancient cultures.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, if we're not careful, we're going to turn out like Roman did, and people are just going to uprise and just destroy the government.
like, it's
I mean, hopefully not, but I mean,
yeah. Well,
stranger things have happened in our past, so.
well, we may no longer be the United States. You know what I mean? Like, because government is really too big right now. Like, it's just too, I don't know.
Well, before we go forward, I don't know if you guys have done this already, but we'd love to hear from our audience. If you wanted to create a comment about our topic today and leave a comment below, we'd really appreciate it. Also, this episode is brought to you by viewers like you, so thank you. Hopefully we have earned your support today. You can best support us by hitting that red subscribe button and click that damn bell to be notified of our content releases so you don't miss a thing. We appreciate you. So what was really interesting about Joseph Rosenbaum, as we know,
Kyle.
No,
No,
Joseph
never
Rosenbaum
mind.
is the person that was killed by Rittenbaum.
You got it.
Or Rittenhouse, excuse me.
I got it mixed up.
Yeah, all these crazy names. But what was really interesting is all the stuff that came out after the trial, and they finally released all that information, and everybody's just like, whoa. Like, this is like a serious, like, I want to say hardened criminal. And, what was he, like 30 something?
Oh, how
30s?
he had just been released from the hospital because
from a mental institute.
He's a serial child rapist.
Yeah, molester. Yeah, he served time in prison in Arizona for a child molestation case, and was on bail for assault in Wisconsin. Oh, and some of his behavior that night, like including like yelling racial slurs.
Yeah, he was running
like
around
Rosenbaum,
saying the N-word.
And then telling Kyle that he was going to kill him.
Oh, yeah, he was like verbally telling him.
He was verbally assaulting him as well as
and there's plenty of witnesses.
Trying to take his gun and stuff. Plenty of witnesses. Plenty of people like videotaping everything, which is really interesting nowadays, is that instead of helping somebody, people just videotape it nowadays.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me anymore. But there it is.
I think it's kind of weird because people start videotaping it and they're watching it like it's something that's not actually happening right in front of them, because we're so desensitized. Like, I think we're
so used to that digital barrier nowadays. Like we're so desensitized to violence,
right,
and sexualizations of everything. We're desensitized of of reality because of technology, in my opinion.
Well, what kills me is there was a rape that took place on a subway or an L train or something in Chicago, and instead of people stepping in and stopping the rape from happening, they literally filmed it and watched it happen.
Yeah.
Nobody stepped in to help the woman. They just watched it. Like that situation, like that hit. Oh,
yeah.
It makes me mad. I can't talk about it. I gotta stop.
Well, and again, like I feel very importantly that all life is precious. I'll always believe that, you know, people can get second and third chances and can change their lives, you know, but at the same time, like, you know, these people that are doing these things, that are perpetrating, you know, on women or like young kids and stuff like that, there really isn't a place in society if they continue to do those things. So, I mean, although it is tragic, you know, that these people, you know, were killed in this self-defense stuff, like, you know, my heart goes out to their families. Like, it's not, I mean, even in the worst of circumstances, it sucks when, you know, when people, you know, leave this world.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, I think society is not going to miss this Rosenbaum guy because of the things that he did, not only in his past, but leading up to this, the point where Kyle had to make the decision.
Yeah.
And again, I really do feel that he had a lot of restraint, like being attacked, like especially being assaulted with, in my opinion, deadly weapon. Have you ever like held like a real skateboard?
Oh,
like
yeah.
not those little toy ones from Walmart, but like an actual skateboard that you can, you know, get built and like get from like an actual board shop. Those things are heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and swinging one of those things with enough force with the metal trucks, which are made out of aluminum, that could kill somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Very easily. So anyways.
Well, and that's the thing. They had hit him in the head with it. They were coming at him.
And he tried to get away.
And
even after he was hit.
Well, and he walked straight to the cops. If he was there to murder and destroy people, why would he walk straight to the cops?
Well, and what was really interesting about the prosecution is they were trying to paint him in the light of he was an active shooter, that he literally went there with his rifle to just, you know, kill willy-nilly whoever came his way. But what was really interesting is that the footage
media portrayed it too, and that's not.
And the footage showed, like, we saw, you know, quite long lengths of these videos, and he's just calmly walking through the street, like avoiding people.
Well, and he was trying to offer medical help as well.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that's why.
So here's a quote from this CNN article, which I found really interesting. Trying to brand Kyle Rittenhouse as an active shooter did not stand up, and the defense came back and showed here he is walking through the streets. He's not shooting indiscriminately. That's what an active shooter does. He's only shooting people who have attacked him first, Hoying said. Rittenhouse defense attorney also pointed to the prosecution's active shooter argument during his news conference, saying justice is done when the truth is reached. A prosecutor is supposed to seek the truth, Richards added. Which I think is really interesting because the prosecution was doing everything but seeking the truth. Well, and trying to paint him in a negative light that wasn't correct.
Again, they're caving to the political pressure to follow a freaking narrative that's causing divisiveness.
And what I don't understand is, like, what was Kyle supposed to do? He got hit by a skateboard. He got punched and kicked, right?
Well,
before he even shot anybody.
And then and then they say, well, he shouldn't have been there. That's like telling a rape victim she shouldn't have been where she was at when she got raped.
Yeah, it's victim blaming. Yeah, I completely agree.
Like, he had no business being there, except for the fact that he was trying to, like, protect his dad's business and in
the process helping people. Like, he's a trained lifeguard, so he could easily do first aid and maybe a little bit more.
Right.
CPR and such. I think what was really interesting. Did you see the portion? I think this was on Tucker Carlson that I saw this. But did you see the portion of some of the cross-examination by the prosecutor when he started asking about his active video game playing?
Oh my gosh!
In his for recreation.
He's like, I don't. And Kyle's bewildered. He's
like,
I don't understand why you're asking me these questions. And he's like, well, because you're killing people in the video game with guns that look like the one you were using. And he's like, yeah, but that's not real.
It's a video game.
Like, he's like, I understand that's
effer.
Not real.
Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Anyway.
You shouldn't say the whole word.
That's why I said effer. I didn't say the actual word. Probably shouldn't even say that. I shouldn't even allude to the word.
Too close.
I know there's 3 words we can't use on this podcast that we've all kind of agreed that we're not using. That's the F word, the C word, and the N word. So, yeah. But I just think that's really interesting because I mean, I don't think like they tried to use that in the Columbine shooting. I don't know if you remember this back in. Gosh, when was the Columbine shooting? In the late 90s, early 2000s?
We're getting all sorts of political on these.
No, this isn't really political. This is a social issue.
Yeah, that's true.
Like when we started talking about actual politics and right and left and stuff, that's more political. But anyway, but they tried to use like violent video games and like first-person shooters as a reason as to why these kids decided to go and like shoot up a school.
Right.
And I don't like that. And that's just because I think people are smart enough to realize the difference between actual flesh and blood people and pixels. I think people are smart enough to distinguish the two. Do I agree that we can reasonably be desensitized, like through sexual and, very violent like imagery and like movies and stuff like that? Absolutely. But just because, I'm watching, what's a good example?
Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah, that's pretty violent. But just because I'm watching Sons of Anarchy doesn't mean I'm going to go buy a bike, join a biker gang, and start shooting people and running guns and drugs and hookers. I think it's really dumb. Why do you think I'm trying to do write my book and do the podcast? It's because I don't want to do those things. I'm too pretty to go out and do those things. Like
yeah, you are.
These are all jokes, obviously.
No, they're not. I'm totally serious.
I'm a handsome person.
Sexy beast.
I'm a very handsome person, but I'm just like saying, like I don't think I would be able to stay up, be able to do that kind of work.
You'd make a sexy Santa too.
No, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to do Santa Claus.
I know.
I don't want to do it. But I think that's just a flawed defense. Like it doesn't, and especially. But his reaction was just priceless. Like it really was just like, thank you. Like for just being like, why are you asking this? Like I understand the difference between reality and virtual reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was really funny. But I'm just like, why? I just don't understand why they were using such lies and misinformation to try to pin this on this guy. That's what I don't understand. I understand like with our laws and stuff like that, and when we're in like the whole judge and jury like setting, there's the defense and the prosecution, and they're supposed to be on opposing sides. And I understand that people should have a fair trial. But it's like, if you're going to be using dumb bullshit tactics to ask very misleading or misinforming questions and line of questioning, it's just like, I don't understand. How does it work? Do you understand how it works? Like, does the case come up to the judge and like, can he have like a non-jury, like judge order and just be like, yeah, I'm throwing this out of court because the prosecution is obviously being
called a mistrial.
Yeah, I don't understand why it should have came to his desk and he'd be like, yeah, this is a mistrial. Like, we're not even going to even put a jury up here because this is nonsense.
Well, I don't know the lingo.
I don't know either. We're not lawyers. We're not judges. We don't understand it fully. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just assuming that if that came across somebody's desk, they watched, they poured through all the evidence, they've watched all the video. I don't understand why it even went to a trial. I kind of feel like it should have been thrown out. Like, just period. Just like look at it and be like, yeah, this is pretty cut and dry. Let's not waste resources and taxpayers' money. And let's just throw this out of court.
I don't know.
But I digress. Okay, we probably have a few more minutes, and then we can wrap this up.
Whoa.
I still can't believe they tried to paint him a racist. That doesn't make any sense.
He's a really bad white supremacist because he killed 2 white people.
In self-defense.
Like, seriously, if that's your argument, then he's a horrible white supremacist because he...
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with race.
Well, if it did, they would have charged him with a hate crime, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't make that charge stick.
Well, what I don't understand is what's a hate crime? Like if you beat me
Causing
up,
harm to somebody because they're different from you.
Okay. So let's say you hate men.
Or from a protected class.
Okay, let's say you hate men and one day you just decide to chalk me in the nuts with a swift kick, and now I have to have surgery to get one of my balls removed.
Why so?
Is that a hate crime?
Because I'm a man hater?
Because you're a man hater?
It could be.
See, that's what I don't understand. Because
you could go and ask to press charges against me.
Yeah, but it would be because you caused violence, like assault, against me. Like, it wouldn't be because, oh, well, she just hates men and she just thinks all men are garbage and she just likes beating up on men.
Yeah, well, you would have to prove that I have a history of discrimination or of violent behavior towards that specific
Why should that matter?
person.
Help me understand why that should matter.
Because, like, in the South in the 60s, like, people would literally hunt down, like, 50s-ish,
yeah.
60s, before the Civil Rights Movement, they would literally hunt down black people and kill them.
I understand that.
Because of their skin.
Okay.
So when the motivation is to, like, kill or exterminate because of, or to cause harm because of a person's protected class, which is race, gender, orientation, and stuff.
Okay. Well, we're obviously not in the 60s anymore. However, if somebody shoots somebody and they end up going to court and they hold that people liable for that life being taken, why does it matter if race was involved or not? Like, it seems like you shouldn't kill people. You killed somebody, you're going to have, a consequence for it. Whether it's in jail or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think the severity should change because of some kind of discrimination. Like, I think the discrimination of bodily harm is enough to warrant some kind of a punishment for the crime. And I think the punishment should fit the crime. But I don't think it should be elevated or decreased because of any kind of hate towards that person because of race, gender, whatever. Like, I don't think there should be, because I'm a man, I should have less. I should have
because you're a white man.
Because I'm a white man,
it means less.
Yeah, I don't think it should be less or more because of my gender or because of my color or race or ideology or whatever the case may be. Like, we're getting to the point where we're starting to lose, like, the severity of things because we're now attaching political, sex, race, like, we're attaching all that to these things instead of it just being a plain case of, okay, you murdered somebody, we're going to put you away. It shouldn't increase or decrease. Like the sentencing. It's just, you killed somebody, you get the sentence. Now, this is probably because I'm a very simple-minded and very reasonable person, I think, in a lot of cases. But it just doesn't make sense to me that, because it causes even more divide, especially if it's a very big trial, like some of these trials have been.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, we want to include race in all these things. I'm just like,
well, even in the
this person was shot. Why does race even matter? This person is now dead.
Because it's really hard to prove too. Like,
that's the other thing. How do you prove it?
Well, and if you notice who was it? The trial that happened, the George Floyd cop guy.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation.
Yes, but like his trial, they didn't even bring up the race or the hate crime. There was no hate crime charge or race charge at all. Even though it spurred so much racial divide. There were no actual charges for hate crime or anything like that. Because it's, one, really hard to prove, and two, like, anyway.
Well, and two, it shouldn't even matter. Like, you take a life, you're on trial for taking that life. It doesn't matter if it's a man or if it's a woman or if she was pregnant or whatever.
Well, if she was pregnant, that's 2 lives.
Well, yeah, it's double homicide. Like, I get that. But I'm just saying, like, there should be, when it comes to law, it should be very objective and very evidence-based. That's what I don't understand. Yeah. Just because, it's a black cop who shot a white person, why should that matter? Or the reverse role. If it was a white cop shooting a black kid. Either way, they should be on trial for that life, not for whether we need to decide whether it was a hate crime or not. The life was taken. Like, it needs to be simple and it needs to be evidence-based. And it's really, like you said, it's really hard to prove one way or the other.
But it's
like with like you said, with a woman that's pregnant, like let's say they have a child that's not going to come to term because it's before the time of viability for a premature birth, or in that case it'd probably be a C-section, and so that child unfortunately is going to die. That is objectively another life being taken, in my opinion. But again, this depends on your thought process and understanding of biology. If you believe that if a human egg and a human sperm fertilize, an egg is now fertilized, eventually that's going to become a human being.
Right.
And so we have these terms like zygote and fetus and all these different like scientific terms that basically separates the humanity out of, if left to their natural, progress,
right,
they will become a human being, just like any one of us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a little
no,
intense there.
I agree. Like,
but it shouldn't.
I am of the believer that life happens at conception.
Well, what do you mean by life? As far as like
life begins.
Life begins
at conception.
I mean, this is a very interesting territory because I believe that, the egg and the sperm are alive in your body. But again, it depends on what you define as life.
When they merge, when the egg becomes fertilized, that's when the life begins.
Okay.
That's my opinion. That's what.
As in, that's a human in utero in its in its most earliest form. Okay, I got you. This could spawn off into another whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we need to end it up. We've been, how long? You didn't put a timer up. How long have we been doing this?
That's a good question. I don't know, but we'll go ahead and we'll close it up.
Yeah, I think it's time to close.
But I think it's reasonable to say that we definitely need to be objective. We need to be very evidence-based when it comes to these different trials. We need to get the ideology. We need to get race and sex and all this stuff out of it that doesn't matter. We need to get to the issue at hand, which was what? If this person, reasonably defended himself.
Right.
And which, of course, the court said that they did. And that's really important because we have a right to bear arms. We have a right to protect ourselves. Well, and that is not something bestowed upon us by our government. No, that we believe with our Constitution that it's bestowed upon us by God.
Exactly.
Whatever form of God that you believe in, we believe that these are self-evident, all men are created equal and so on and so forth. But it's really important that we just need to realize that we can't just automatically demonize and call somebody something that we haven't received not only all the information. That's what really bugs me, is that we have mainstream media just going off, oh yeah, this is a white supremacist. Oh yeah, he just shot 2 black kids, when it comes out later on that wasn't the case. And of course, nobody's going to get Kyle's not going to get any apologies from mainstream media or even our president.
Honestly, I honestly would love to see him sue Joe Biden.
That would be a very interesting
for
day.
Defamation.
I think he has a case for it. But again,
I seriously
hopefully you guys have enjoyed our content. Please crush that like button and share the video with your family and friends. Let's be better today than we were yesterday. And from our family to yours, good night.
Good night. Goodbye. Look at that cute butt.